This is the Living in South Louisiana channel, and today in this video we're going to be covering whether or not you should buy a home here in 2022 in South Louisiana. Should you rent? Should you buy? If you do buy, should you wait for a market crash and buy at a lower price? We're going to cover everything in this video, and make sure you stay tuned to the end, guys, because the last thing I'm going to share with you about renting is super important. It's crucial that you know this, so make sure you stay tuned, and we're getting after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know anything and everything about living in South Louisiana, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell for notifications to help out that YouTube algorithm and so that you can be the first to learn about the current real estate market here in South Louisiana. I'm Carson, and my partner Natalie and I are real estate agents with Weichert Realtors Loescher Properties. We're also investors and private money brokers, and what we want you to know is that if you're looking to sell a home, we'll either sell it for you or we'll buy it ourselves. And if you're looking to buy a home, if you're moving, whether it's in the next 9 days or the next 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, schedule a Zoom call with us, and we'll be happy to help you make that smooth move to South Louisiana. So like I mentioned, we are talking about whether or not you should buy a home here in 2022, and the first thing you have to know about that is something that you probably already do know, which is that home prices have appreciated by a fairly large margin as of late. You know, where I live in Madisonville, the median home price went from about $296,000 in 2019 to now $356,000, which is a growth of $60,000 or 20%. In that same time frame, the New Orleans market appreciated by 31%, and my favorite market, Arabi, appreciated by 39%. So why is Arabi my favorite market? Well, many reasons, but it is one of the fastest growing and developing cities in the entire country. And by the way, half the homes on the market in Arabi are actually these beautiful new construction homes that are definitely worth checking out. There is also the fact that property taxes are much lower in Arabi, and the St. Bernard Parish Police Department is on top of their game. So when you have a safe New Orleans suburb with lower property taxes and a lot of new infrastructure and new construction, and you keep the same Cajun Creole culture within the city, demand is going to be very, very high. There's a lot of people moving from even New Orleans into Arabi, but a lot of times from out of state as well into Arabi. Demand is going to be very, very high for a town like that, which means that over time we're talking about massive growth and appreciation. By the way, you're going to have to check out our Arabi vlog video so you can see what I'm talking about with these new construction homes. Natalie films the outside of one of them, and you're going to see what I mean once you watch that video. But even though we have seen a lot of appreciation in the South Louisiana market in the last few years, it doesn't mean that you have missed an opportunity to buy at a good time. But yes, if you would have bought a $245,000 home back in 2019 in Arabi, it'd be worth about $340,000 today. But there's never really a bad time to buy real estate. You should never wait to buy real estate. You should buy real estate and wait. Think about that for a minute. You can't really lose in the long term with real estate. The market does go up and down, but over the course of 10, 20, 30 years, real estate always does this. It always appreciates over time, so keep that in mind. Now, what I don't think is going to happen is if you buy a home now, it's not going to appreciate by 30% over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, mainly due to rising interest rates. Experts are expecting the appreciation to continue to climb just at a slower rate of about 3 to 5% per year up until the year 2026. We've seen interest rates climb from as low as 2% to 3 times that amount, nearly 6% at the time of this recording. Now, the higher your interest rate, the higher your monthly payment is going to be, with each 0.5% increase totaling an extra $100 per month usually to your monthly note. So let's say you were going to buy a $250,000 home. If you got a 2% interest rate, your monthly payment would be $924 for just mortgage and interest. Now, if you were to buy that same priced house but at a 6% interest rate, your monthly payment would be $1,498, which means that you're saving over $500 if you were to buy at a 2% interest rate versus a 6% interest rate. So naturally, when interest rates go up, usually what we see is lower demand because people, of course, don't have as much buying power as they would if interest rates were a little lower. But at the same time, even though interest rates are rising, we still are experiencing pent-up demand for homes that just don't exist on the market just because of the low inventory. We have have low supply of homes and we have high demand still with the higher interest rates, and that's because of first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers. Hedge funds are buying up a lot of properties. Investors are buying long and short-term rentals, multifamily properties, everything. There's so much demand right now and there's very little inventory. And really the worst thing that could happen if you buy at a 6% interest rate is you can refinance down the line when the Fed lowers interest rates back down into a hopefully lower monthly payment. Now, some people say interest rates are going to go back down by the end of this year. Some people say that it's going to take 2 to 3 years. But regardless, all in all, we really aren't that high. The U.S. national average is about 6.1% in the last 58 years, which means that we're basically right at average, okay? So if you look at the chart, the historical chart, we've seen highs of over 18%, but we've seen lows of under 2%. And right now we're at pretty much the average, 6.1%. We're a little lower at the time of this recording, but just keep that in perspective that yes, interest rates are higher than they have been in the last few years, but they aren't that high, especially if you look at this chart. But like I said, we have seen a lot of demand even with the rising interest rates, and this means we've been in something called a seller's market, which means that it's not so easy to be a buyer, but it is pretty easy to be a seller. Some sellers getting tens of thousands over what they're asking because the buyers they're starting to get in bidding wars, and they're trying to do escalation clauses and outdoing each other and giving an arm and a leg and their firstborn child to get into a house. When a seller, all they've got to do is list their property on the MLS and then it gets sold for 20 grand over asking. So this might not be in the case anymore. We are seeing a market shift. At the time of this recording, we're seeing days on market start to creep up, which means that sellers aren't able to sell their properties as quickly as they could before. We're going from about 5 days on market to now getting closer to 10 and 15 days for some areas in South Louisiana. And sellers really aren't getting as much as they were in the past now because there's been a lot of price decreases, because they're trying to list their property for maybe $350 when the one down the street sold for $300,000 and it's identical property, because they said, well, they went 20, 30 grand over asking, so I'll just list that 20, 30 grand over what my property is worth. But it doesn't really work like that anymore because the market is shifting more towards a buyer's market. And by using deductive reasoning, if a seller's market is really easy on sellers and they have it their way, same thing goes in a buyer's market. It's really easy to be a buyer in a buyer's market. There's going to be tons of listings. There's going to be tons of opportunity to get into a home and not as many bidding wars and houses going for over asking price. There's just not going to be as much competition. So this is the kind of shift that we're hoping to see in the next few months and what I'm expecting to see personally. And this is great news for you buyers, which means that it is a wonderful time to buy a house in 2022. Now, if it were a perfect world for buyers, interest rates would be at 2% and we'd have a ton of listings at the same time, but we don't always get to have our cake and eat it too. Now, like I talked about in this video, I don't think personally that the market is going to crash. I think that people can afford the houses that they're in now because they are actually getting approved for their loans based on their debt to income ratio, their credit score, and so on and so forth. They're not just giving out money to people anymore like they did in 2008, which caused that market crash and that economic downfall, and that's not really happening anymore. Like I said, people can afford the homes that they're living in, which means there's going to be less foreclosures. And could the market still crash? Absolutely. And I could definitely be wrong, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that we're going to see a crash anytime soon. Now, if I'm wrong and the market does crash, please, please, please buy real estate. This is going to be the easiest, most perfect time to become rich. And you're probably thinking, well, I don't have any money if the market crashes to buy real estate. You don't need a ton of money. You can find a family or friend or even someone in a freaking Facebook group to lend you the down payment that you need, or you can get a line of credit to use for a down payment and I can fund the rest. I'm a private money broker. I specialize in lending money for investment purposes, which are non-owner occupied. So don't come to me for any owner occupied loans. I'll refer you to Stephanie Weeks. Her link is in the description below. She is a mortgage broker and she will get you taken care of on the owner occupied side. But guys, if you're looking to start investing in real estate, I can help you out with that. I'm an investor myself, and I also broker private loans, like I said, for those investment purposes. But say homes lose 80% of their value in the next few months, and we're buying a home for $40,000 that appreciates to $300,000 in the next few years. Wouldn't that be one of the easiest ways to build your wealth and become rich quite easy? Yes, it would. So make sure that if the market does crash, you're taking advantage of it and being like a shark and going after the blood. When the market's red, you buy. Now, as a real estate agent, I am supposed to be selling people houses. I also do help people find places to rent. While I do personally have an opinion on that, and I think that if you can buy a house, you should, there are some exceptions to this rule, and for some period of time, it might be better for some people to rent. However, in the long term, it makes a lot more sense to buy, and I'll tell you why. So let's say I'm gonna buy a house for $300,000, okay? Let's say worst case scenario, I have to put 20% down, which would be $60,000. Let's say closing costs are $10,000. So all in all, I'm $70,000 in to this $300,000 house, which is an asset, not a liability, in my opinion. Now let's say that the market goes up 4% per year for the next 5 years. You will make your whole $70,000 back that you put into the property, which means that you buy a house with your hard-earned money, and then 5 years later, you get it all back. Now, if you refinance it, you're only gonna get 75 to 80% out of the appraised value, okay? But if you sell it, you'll get about 90% after moving expenses, taxes, and agent commissions. So either way, you're going to be making a large chunk of your money back in some time. Now let's say you're renting a house, okay? All you're doing is giving money away. You're just losing money, losing money, losing money. You're not putting your money into something that appreciates, that makes you money, right? You're just giving your money away to your landlord. And guess what, guys? Rents go up over time. They go up by the same amount that real estate appreciates usually. Now, not always. A lot of times real estate goes up by 3 to 5% and rents do go up to about 3 to 5%. But you know, if real estate goes up 30% in 2 years, rent doesn't usually do the same, okay? Or at least not as quickly, but nonetheless, rents do go up. So over time, your rent is going to go up and up and up, and you're just losing money, losing money, losing money. Well, in real estate, as real estate goes up, you're making money. So on one end, you're making more money and more money and more money. If you're renting, you're losing more money and more money and more money, okay? So this is what you have to keep in mind. You look at a house that you live in as a savings account. Look at a house that you own and rent out as a landlord, as an investment, as an asset. Both are assets in my opinion, not liabilities. But if you're renting, sure, it's not a liability, but guess what? You're losing money, and like I said, more money and more money over time. Now, renting definitely isn't all bad, and as a real estate agent, I'll tell you that. I'll give you my honest opinion. You know, I mean, a lot of people think that renting is great because the landlord is more responsible for the wear and tear of the property than they are. They don't have to worry about a lot of that kind of stuff. Whereas if you do own the house, you might have to come out of pocket every now and then to fix something, you know? Grant Cardone, who's a big real estate investor, who's a billionaire now, he owns billions of dollars of real estate. He thinks that in the future, everyone's going to be renting homes and not owning their primary residence. Of course, he thinks it's good to buy houses to rent them out, but he doesn't think it's a good idea to buy a primary residence because it doesn't make you money every month. Well, I would say that it does make you money. You just have to look at it in terms of appreciation, not cash flow. There's also tax benefits of owning real estate, and I'm not a CPA, so I mean, don't take my advice. This isn't financial advice. Go talk to a CPA before making a tax strategy. But anyways, real estate does give you tax benefits because of something called depreciation, which is where you can write off the value of the home minus the land over 27.5 years. This is for investment properties. There's also capital gains benefits. deductions, I should say, for owning your primary residence. You get more if you're married, but that's besides the point. There's tremendous tax benefits, okay, of owning real estate that you just don't get with renting real estate. And why? Well, because we are incentivized to buy real estate because it's what makes the economy boom and makes the world go round. But look, if you'd rather rent real estate and that is just what you want to do, no hard feelings, I completely understand. I would never try to persuade you into buying a house if that's not what you wanted to do. I would like to inform you of your decision and the pros and cons of each way of buying or renting, and so that you can make an informed decision. But if you want to rent, no hard feelings here. But the moral of the story is that it is still a great time to buy real estate in 2022, even with rising interest rates. Like I said, I do think we're shifting from a seller's market to more of a buyer's market. I think there's going to be a lot less competition, and it's going to be a lot easier to buy a house, though you might have a little less buying power. Still a great time to buy a house. Like I told you guys, you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait and make money. But that's about it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you found any value whatsoever, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep the content going for you guys. And if you have any questions about anything I said in this video, give me a call, or if you're looking to move in the next week or the next few months, whatever it is, guys, we're here to help you make that smooth move to South Louisiana. And other than that, see you around town.